Hey guys, Henry here, and today we're going to be talking about the new DC film, Birds of Prey, what I thought of the film, and whether I think it's worth a watch. So, Birds of Prey is a film directed by Cathy Yan and stars Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, reprising the role of what seemed to be the only redeeming part of Suicide Squad. The movie has a pretty straightforward plot. It starts with Harley Quinn and the Joker breaking up, and that means that Harley Quinn no longer has the protection of the Joker, and a whole bunch of people are out to get her, including Black Mask, played by Ewan McGregor. And then there's this diamond thing that sort of is the MacGuffin of the film, and on top of wanting to kill Harley, everyone else in Gotham also wants to get their hands on this diamond. And amidst all of this, there's a team up. What I will say about this film is that at least the plot was grounded. It didn't have some convoluted reasons for having to go down a path of some supernatural cosmic force and all-world destroying threat that Suicide Squad felt the need to include. It was really grounded, it was set in Gotham, it was really contained, and that in itself allowed for the movie to be a bit more coherent. Margot Robbie is amazing as Harley Quinn, just as she was in Suicide Squad. She really loses herself in this role. The voice, the body language, just the overall attitude. She fits what Harley Quinn is so perfectly. And what I really liked about her performance as well was the action sequences, the fights. They were all really interestingly choreographed, and they all seemed really natural. She was a badass, and she was able to fight these big buff dudes in really interesting ways, utilizing her acrobatics and her creativity. It didn't seem like dance-like. You know how sometimes in action scenes it looks like, yep, you throw a punch, I'm dodging, and then I'm coming across with a kick and you're ducking. It felt really realistic, and it felt like when people were throwing her, she was light. And when she was kicking them, you could feel the weight of her kicks. They weren't that strong, but she was then flipping them, and that was creating the force. Like, those things were really well done, and they really utilized, her body size and I guess her skill set in a really unique and interesting way, and it felt really natural. And I say that because it's really contrasted by the fight scenes with the other girls, where it felt a little bit clunky, a bit awkward, and it felt really staged. Like, for example, Canary would just kick some guy and he'd just go flying, and you look at the size of her and the guy that she kicked, it just doesn't make sense that that guy would go flying. Like, where's the precedent for her having all that strength and that power? It didn't make logical sense. That's why that felt really staged. And yeah, this film is about the Birds of Prey. It's supposed to be a team-up movie, but I didn't really feel that team-up element. There wasn't any real teaming up until the very last act of the film. So it took a while to get there. And again, the film, it builds at a steady pace. It's introducing these characters. It's pushing this diamond story along, and it builds steadily, and it just keeps building. And I was sort of expecting it to climax and go crazy, but it just sort of cruised at this, comfortable altitude, and it didn't take it to that next level that I thought it might go to. For a movie technically meant to be about 5 different women, it really just focused on Harley Quinn. And that's fine. Like, Harley Quinn is probably the most interesting character out of all of them. And yeah, they should focus on her, but why did they sell this movie to us as a Birds of Prey film? Like a group film. It's not really. It's more like Harley Quinn and friends. Huntress was extremely underdeveloped. She probably had the most interesting backstory, and they showed her backstory in flashbacks, and she had pretty minimal dialogue, and her interactions with the other girls were somewhat funny, but at the same time a little bit weird. But I mean, that's the vibe they were going for. I felt there was a lot more to explore there, and it would have been more interesting to see more from her. Again, Canary, she had a lot more screen time than Huntress, but she didn't really have any depth as a character. Like, she was cool, I liked her, but, I don't really care that much about her. Detective Reeves and Cassandra Cain I actually liked better than those two. They were more interesting, but still, the film doesn't really give them enough time to really shine. Its main focus is Harley Quinn. So, I really feel like they should have just made this a straight-up Harley Quinn movie. Maybe make it like a bit of a, not a buddy cop film, but like a duo movie with Cassandra Cain, because their dynamic was really interesting. She was sort of like, the older sister figure, but she doesn't have anything figured out, so she's sort of teaching her all the wrong things. That dynamic was really interesting. I really like that. And then just have the other characters sort of cameo, not actually be, key parts of the film, because they weren't they just weren't even key parts of this film, and the film is called Birds of Prey. Stylistically, this film had some pretty awesome moments that meshed really well with Harley Quinn's psyche and her imagination. There were these firework explosions and this really colorful shotgun scene. Those scenes worked really, really well. I really liked them, and I feel like they could have leaned into that a little bit more, make it a little bit more crazy, make it a little bit more Harley, but they sort of held back a little bit. I think this would have taken it to the next level, would have made it a bit more entertaining, and it would have gone to a place where no other comic book movie has gone yet. And I know there's a lot of comic book movies, so it's sort of hard to be original these days. Ewan McGregor, I'm not sure I'd say it's one of his better performances. He's not bad by any means. He's Ewan McGregor. He was extremely menacing, but then he had a tinge of that Jared Leto Joker vibe, where he's a bit of a caricature. He's just sort of being weirdly unhinged for no reason, just being wacky and strange for no reason, and that just takes you out of it a little bit. And we know the type of actor that Ewan McGregor is, so I would probably really chalk this up to the writing of Black Mask in this case. And yes, there is a post-credit scene, but it's more so a bit of a troll. It's not actually giving any more information about any future films or anything like that. It's sort of, I guess, trendy to do this meta commentary on post-credit scenes now. Not actually for promoting the film, but actually making fun of people staying back to find out what might happen in the next films. I've seen some people say this movie has a bit of Deadpool vibes in it. I probably would tend to disagree. I mean, the only Deadpool-y thing really about this is that, you know, she breaks the fourth wall a couple times, but it doesn't really add that much to the film. It didn't really need to have that. It just had a few of those elements. If it really went, you know, full throttle and just went all in on that, I think it could have been interesting as well. But I feel like they didn't want to sort of take that big of a risk. So it is safe to say that this film is far better than Suicide Squad, but that's not a tall task at all. So I'm not sure if you can really be proud of saying that this film is better than Suicide Squad, because that film is just a disaster. So is Birds of Prey worth a watch? I would say sort of. It's not something that I'd be rushing into the cinemas to watch, but as I'm a fan of these comic book movies, I do like to see what happens in them, and I like to see the evolution of what's going on with this superhero genre. I think it's pretty interesting where we're going with all this superhero stuff, with, you know, the Amazon series, The Boys, you know, the Watchmen series. It's all like leveling up, and so it's pretty interesting to go see. I don't think this reaches the level of a really, really good superhero movie. A lot of the DC movies even are probably better than this, and those movies aren't even that good. So yeah, I'd probably just wait for you to stream it, or you see it on a plane or something, but I wouldn't be rushing to the cinemas to go watch this. Another piece of news that's just come out is that they've actually changed the name of the film from Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, to Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, which just makes so much more sense. Like, they should have done that from the beginning. I don't know why they're trying to be like wise asses about it and make this long ass name. Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey makes more sense. People know who Harley Quinn is. That's the first thing they see. Oh, this movie is going to be about Harley Quinn. And it's much shorter, so they can actually Google it and see the session times and see what the movie's about. Search up the trailer instead of having to be like, what was that movie called again? Birds of what? The what? Like, there's just too many moving pieces. Like, people aren't even familiar with Birds of Prey. Like, that shouldn't be the headlining name. And the box office for this film has been absolutely garbage, and this is probably what has led to this name change. I mean, they might try and blame coronavirus for keeping people, you know, away from public spaces and not going to cinemas, but really they only have themselves to blame. The marketing for this film was not good. They sold it to people as, you know, this team-up movie with these B-list characters. Oh yeah, and Harley Quinn's one of those, the members of the Birds of Prey. Like, no, that makes no sense. Like, how are you pitching this movie like that to viewers? Like, no one cares about any of the Birds of Prey except Harley Quinn. So if anything, it should be, you know, you go through Harley Quinn to introduce us to these new characters. But they sort of went the wrong way about it, and I think it's showing in the box office results. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, please be sure to give me a big thumbs up, and if you want to see more content from me, please subscribe down below. If you've seen Birds of Prey, let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.